To Embark's informational session on the 5 Volcano Challenge in Ecuador. Thank you for coming to listen and learn a little bit about Ecuador and its beautiful high elevation volcanoes. I am Carrie O'Callahan. I'm the Director of Travel and Logistics for Embark Exploration Company. We are a travel company that's based in Portland, Oregon. We've been running adventure treks and hikes around the world for more than 20 years. We love what we do. We're super passionate, and I have been to Ecuador a number of times, and I'm really excited to share a little bit more about this region with you. So let's get started. Facts about trekking in Ecuador. The main thing that people always want to know is when should they go? Ecuador is very equatorial. It sits on the actual equator, just outside Quito. And that means that when we're talking about weather windows and hiking seasons, we're mainly talking dry season versus wet season. However, it is a little bit more complicated in the region that we hike in and operate in because what we have is winds and movement coming from the ocean and colliding with the weather in the Amazon. And that really just results in a pretty volatile from day-to-day weather environment. So what I've got on here is the times that are best to go hiking in Ecuador on the volcanoes. However, you will see from our packing list that you're going to be bringing all of the things because the weather just changes a lot and you have to be ready for it. This is high elevation hiking, and so you do need 2 or 3 days to acclimatize before you start hiking. And on that note also, high elevation hiking requires lots of preparation and training. So you need at least 4 to 6 months to train in advance of this trip. We score this trip as a level 4 on a scale of 1 to 6 in terms of difficulty. So level 1 might be day hikes in the Canadian Rockies, which is like hotel based. And a level 6 might be a full-on 8,000 meter mountain expedition like our Aconcagua expedition. So there you see between those two where Ecuador lies. It is very strenuous. However, it's not at that level like a Kilimanjaro or an Aconcagua. This is where we're talking about Ecuador. And we are based in and out of Quito. That's where you would fly in and out of if you came on the Volcano Challenge trip. So this itinerary specifically, getting into a few more kind of specific points about what we've put together. We have put together some hikes that we've curated specifically for the level of challenge, the level of solitude and success. What does that mean? It means that we've picked elevations and distances that are challenging, but not so challenging that somebody who's in good physical shape couldn't do them. But we also really want to give you some unique locations that not everybody does, because that's kind of that's our jam. That's what we put together is things that are kind of off the beaten path. And these volcanoes very much are like that. Most days you will go on every volcano except for Aconcagua and you won't see any other hikers, which is pretty special in the world to have that solitude. And then, yeah, we didn't pick purposefully, Cotopaxi and Chimborazo because that's not what it's about. It's about hitting multiple different volcanoes. So we didn't want to kind of super blow it out of the water in terms of the physical challenge. Something that's great about this trip is that it's lodge-based, and so you're just carrying your own day pack throughout the day and coming back to that same lodge in the evening times. Each day you kind of are able to tackle a peak, which makes it a really engaging time. You have a challenge every single day of getting up to the top of that volcano. However, there is one day in there where there's a rest day before the hardest volcano. It is a really huge mental and physical challenge because primarily that elevation component. So specifically the different hikes that we're running, the very first one that we run, and we'll go through the details of it here in just a second, is just outside Quito. And that's kind of designed to be acclimatization. And then every volcano after that is either in or right outside of Cotopaxi National Park, which is about an hour, 1.5 hours south of Quito. We are sleeping at 12,000 feet at the lodge on purpose because we like to get you up to elevation and then kind of stay high in elevation. And we make sure to get Cotopaxi in there because it's gorgeous and you got to go see Cotopaxi. This is a look at what the itinerary is and how it's put together. So we've put 3 nights on the front end in Quito for that acclimatization that we think is vital to your success. So we come in, we stay a night, and we stay another night, and then we wake up and we start with Wawa Pichincha. That is almost 15,700 feet. However, don't be too scared. You're not walking from 9,000 feet up to 15,700 feet. We drive you up way higher than that. Then the next one, all of these are located in the Cotopaxi region. So then the next one you'll notice is lower in elevation. So we're kind of ratcheting it down a little bit because to go straight into Wawa Pichincha, it's a workout. So the next one is Pasochoa at 13,800 feet. And then Rumiñahui, you will see a trend, they're getting higher. And then Illiniza Norte is considered the pinnacle of this trip. It is our hardest volcano in distance and in elevation. And we start off very early in the morning. We do it after a rest day to maximize our chances of success. And that is meant to be the big challenge of the trip. However, we still do come back and finish it off with Cotopaxi hiking up to the snow line because it's gorgeous and it also is a really huge challenge. After Cotopaxi, we head back to Quito for one more night before departure back home or your onward adventure to maybe Galapagos or the Amazon. Okay, here is a map of where everything is located. So again, we're flying in and out of Quito, and we've got our 3 days in Quito on the front end. Out of Quito is this volcano Wawa Pichincha. Then after that, we come down to the Cotopaxi region, and this is our base right here at the lodge. From there, we're going to Pasochoa, and then Rumiñahui, and then we cruise over to Illiniza Norte. That's the most difficult one. And then one more night at our lodge before we go to the snow line of Cotopaxi, and then finally back out to Quito. Some details about each hike. So this is the basin, the caldera of our first volcano, Wawa Pichincha. So we drive you up to about 13,500, 13,600 feet, and you do a 2,000-foot ascent in 5.5 miles, and that is like our acclimatization day. The next one is Pasochoa. And you'll see from the stats up here, we're starting at about 11,900 feet and hiking up to 13,775 in 8.5 miles. And this is looking back up at the top of Pasochoa from the bottom. And then you have Rumiñahui, which is 12,700 feet to 15,200 feet in 7 miles. Now Rumiñahui is rocky, and so we are wearing helmets for safety, and it's definitely kind of ratcheting it up from Pasochoa to Rumiñahui. It is more strenuous for sure, and takes a longer time. And then this is coming back down Rumiñahui. You can see Cotopaxi peeking through the clouds there. And this is very common with these clouds moving in and out. This is that weather pattern that I was alluding to, where you've got those winds from the ocean hitting the Amazon kind of climate because that air is warmer and it's just creating these clouds that are constantly moving through. And then finally, well, not finally, but our big challenge, Illiniza Norte, that is 10 miles total, and you're starting at 13,100 feet and climbing all the way up to 16,800 feet. So I think that's like a 3,600 foot elevation gain, starting at elevation. So it is an endeavor for sure. This is just some more imagery of Illiniza. And then finally, we drive you up to the parking lot for this refugio right here. This is called Jose Rivas Refugio. And we make our way from the parking lot up to the refugio and then beyond to the snow line. So that is 2 miles and about 15,700 feet to 16,700 feet. So it takes us some time. And there you can see looking back down on the group from Jose Rivas Refugio. Okay, so moving on to the lodge and what that looks like. This is where we base ourselves in Cotopaxi National Park. It's a really beautiful, quaint, locally owned operation that is staffed by people from the local area. All of the meals are cooked and prepared and for you and included there in the trip. You come back every day to a wonderful hot shower. Each room has a wood stove in it that gets started for you before you get back from your hike. And so it's super nice and cozy. And something that is important to note about having a lodge as a base is that you always have the option if you're, just not feeling it that day, you can stay behind at the lodge. It's not one of our trips where you have to keep advancing from camp to camp in order to complete the trip. So that is an advantage. So just some more imagery of what to expect at the lodge. It's quite nice, very comfortable. You won't want to leave. Here's the restaurant, beautiful breakfasts every morning. And this is us outside of the lodge with the mountains behind. Moving on to what can you expect from Embark if you sign up for the Volcano Challenge. We recognize that these trips are big trips. Like I said, we've been doing this for more than 20 years, and through that experience have compiled quite the list of preparational and informational materials. And we house them all in a central site that really guides you through that whole process. So gear lists, training plans, video tutorials. If you've never been hiking in the volcanoes before, you can go click on our YouTube site and run through some tips and tricks for how to pack for a trip like this. And so we really have lots and lots of resources that we've spent years compiling kind of at your disposal. In addition to that, we make sure to run a series of conference calls with each group so that they can make sure that they feel that they're properly supported for a trip of this nature. We have one about 6 months prior to the trip, and then we have another one 1 month prior to the trip. And then finally, we are small and we're passionate, and that allows us to be really responsive and hands-on with everybody. And we really do try and give you that personal touch and guidance that we think you probably would appreciate and need because it is, like I said, we realize it's a big trip and we want to make sure that you feel like you're getting all of the guidance and support that you need. So that is kind of high level what you can expect from us. For 2026, we're running a couple of set departures. We have a trip in November and then June of 2026. I guess I should have flipped those in terms of the calendar year. June and November of 2026. However, we're always running custom dates. So if you have a group that you want to bring, and just according to kind of the weather windows, we can plan any custom trips that you might want to do. And general starting price is around $3,200, $3,300, depending on the number of people who go. So that's kind of what to expect. And then kind of high level, kind of rounding things out, just things to remember about this trip in particular. The fact that we are kind of lodge-based means that it is somewhat flexible. You can always kind of stay back for the day if you're not feeling well or just don't want to do that particular hike. Acclimatization is imperative for a trip up the volcanoes because it is at higher elevation. Um, there is the option to add a Cotopaxi summit onto the end of this if you're so inclined. And we also can add on some Galapagos trips or an Amazon trip if you would like to do that after. You do need to plan for a trip of this nature about 6 to 9 months in advance. You need to make sure that you have enough time to train and get all of your gear and get all of your ducks in line in terms of a trip of this nature. So you need some time. And on that note, you need to train for a minimum of 4 months, 4 to 6 months, depending on your level coming into it. And then it is a challenge. It is high elevation. However, it's also a lot of fun.
Hey, Lila. Congratulations.
I know I
So just a little something to let you know that it's not always serious, serious, serious. You do totally bond with people on these trips. Hardship makes for really good bonds with people and lots of fun times. So that is all for my part of the presentation. If you have questions, you can always you can always email us at info@embarkexplorationco.com. But then on top of that, I will take any kind of questions in the chat that people might have.
I have a question about the gear.
Mhm.
So it's equatorial. I'm not sure like the temperatures then are they pretty mild or because you're at elevation and you're on a mountain, it's like whatever, anything goes. So does the gear list you guys provide, does it include all of that for that?
It does, yeah. And j similar to hiking in lots of different, like, kind of mountain regions, and maybe even a little more so for this particular region because of what I was talking about with just where the Cotopaxi region is. It is more volatile, and so you are going to get those wide swings. However, it also is equatorial, so when you're in Quito, which is at 9,000 feet, it's not going to feel like it would feel at 9,000 feet in the United States. It is much more kind of temperate. But yes, our gear list is very comprehensive, and you will notice that. You will notice like, okay, guess I'm packing all of the layers, even though we're staying in a lodge and we're not camping. It doesn't matter. You still need your wind shell, your rain shell. You need your heavy puffy jacket. But then you also need lighter layers for when the clouds part and the sun comes up and you're at 12,000 feet and then it feels really warm. So you really have to just be bringing everything and apply the sunscreen.
And then do you guys recommend Diamox because of the altitude or is that okay?
Yeah. Yeah. So for people who are listening who might not know what Diamox is, it is a diuretic that helps your blood oxygenate better. And so it can really help you with the side effects of altitude. And for a trip of this nature where we're basically at 12,000 and above, we recommend that everybody at least bring Diamox with them. And if you want to take it right when you get there, you can, or if you want to wait and see, you can take it later. But yeah, we recommend everybody bring it just in case.
Cool, thanks.
So there's a question in the chat here. Is the Cotopaxi part technical? Yeah, so these days it actually is. We used to run this trip and it was part of the itinerary. But because anybody who kind of, was up to date with their trekking could go and summit Cotopaxi because it was very not technical. These days it is, because the mountain blew, and that meant that the old line that we used to follow to go up, you can't climb that way anymore. So you have to go up the steeper part, which is very much technical. You have to have the whole crampons, harnesses, ice axes, and you are roped to a guide. So it's two climbers to one guide. And if you wanted to do something like that, then we would need to just talk with you about your level of experience and make sure that that's a good fit. But people do it. I did it last year and it was super fun, but it was really hard because it's so technical. There's another question in there. Are helmets included in the gear we need to bring, or can we rent it there? Yeah, so for when you saw that picture of people on Rumiñahui with helmets on, we go rent everybody just goes and rents that, and it's included in the price of your trip, and you just get it in Quito when we arrive. How many guides do you use? How long have you used them? We have like 5 guides that we draw from and that we can draw from at any given point in time, but we always use the same 2 guides. And it's in general, it's a 7-to-1 guide to climber ratio. Yeah, we've been working with the same lead guide for the past 8 years now, and he's been guiding for 20 years. I should note that if you do decide to do the Cotopaxi add-on, those are specialized guides who come and they only do that portion. So it will be an auxiliary guide that comes in and meets you at the base and only does Cotopaxi with you. But if you're just doing the Volcano Challenge, then you will be working with Luis. And we love him. He's very passionate and knowledgeable. He's super chill. And yeah, we love Luis. Any other questions? Sometimes people wonder, is the water safe to drink in Quito? We generally do bottled water when we travel on this trip. And then when we're out at the lodge, we provide all of your drinking water for you, which is clean and sanitized and comes from, one of those companies that does the big old bottles of water. Any other questions?
What's a typical, like the meals? So we're at a lodge and it looked like there was a restaurant. So are all meals included, or like how does
Yep.
that work?
Yeah. So all those meals when we're out in the Cotopaxi region at our lodge are included. And it's a full-on kitchen with, staff and a chef and everything. And it's really good, like quality meals that are designed for nutrition and to get you through your hiking and climbing. But they're also really good, delicious meals too. Wholesome food, organic. So yeah, and we can accommodate all kinds of dietary restrictions or requirements, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, totally easy. We've done it. We've done it all. You can also even have a glass of wine with your dinner too, which is why I like that lodge.
Oh, that's good to know.
But don't drink too much wine at the high elevations. Some people ask, is Ecuador safe? I heard that there were protests in the city. Yes, that is not new for Quito, and usually it is Quito or in the kind of more coastal areas where they have protests and stuff of that nature. We consider Ecuador safe and have been working there for over a decade. And this kind of climate where people protest is something that's actually really common in Ecuador and in countries like Ecuador. And it's nothing to worry about. It's very common. Usually they are very peaceful. And we are kind of, for the most part, out in the mountains. So we tend to kind of escape any drama from that. Okay. I think that is it from me. Thank you for taking the time to learn a little bit about the volcanoes of Ecuador. I am super smitten with this trip and with these volcanoes. I personally just really love being out in those higher elevations. And as I alluded to before, we've picked locations that are really remote and off the beaten path. And it's a really special thing that we kind of get these mountains to ourselves. So maybe you will go and find out for yourself. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.
All right.